Hello, everybody. Welcome to Level Up Circle TV. Today's Thursday, 9 a.m. PST. This is your host, Dr. Leland. Welcome to our channel. So, yesterday I was told that people are really looking at how education, because people don't look at it that way, right? How education is so important in the economic stance for our country, right? If other countries are well educated and United States are not going to be educated, most of the people who are coming here for education is from another country. What would that make our citizens in the next 10, 20 years if we continue to decline? Think about GDP, think about your American dollars, think about the life that you are going to have within. So these are some of the issues that we tackled yesterday, and I will continue that conversation because it is important. And really, this segment today, we're going to go into segue, is about the why for Paulette. Paulette will be here in a little bit. She is trying to log in. For some reason, she might not be able to log in. So we will wait for her. As we wait for her, we will talk about Jack and Walter. And I actually bought one of her books. This is a series. And I want to know from Paulette, why were Jack and Walter created, right? We're going to uncover the true purpose. And most people, when they write books, there's always a purpose to it. There's always the why and why we're doing it, right? And so today, it's no different. We want to get to know the why. Why did we write this book? Why did Paulette write this book? What was the point of writing it? And so we are going to uncover that today. So, first things first, I want to go over a couple of things as always, right? I want to make sure that we are providing support to our community. The first thing I wanted to engage you in is my dear sister, Susanna Dawn. She has a company. She does speaking and also writing and editing. We are actually business partner in one of our business, which is Anthology, right? That's mostly what she does is speaking to corporates and also anthology and writing. She's very, very good at that. She's an amazing writer. She's an amazing editor, and we have fun together. And so next year, she is going to expand and level up her business a bit more and have packages for people in terms of speaking, right? And the best people to actually be engaged in your corporate is the people who have been in corporate and really have the study behind it, not just, oh, how I'm feeling. It's nice that you're feeling that way, but it's nice if you have credible sources. And Susanna does lots of research. She does have 2 master's degree. And yes, I do love people who goes to school and use their degree for that reason. I also have a lot of friends who don't have a degree but are amazing human being in a world of wisdom. I'm about to write in Media Magazine, not Media Magazine, but I guess it is a magazine, in terms of my own thoughts on some of these colleges who are like Ivy Leagues, and a lot of business owners apparently, Fortune 1000, I believe, are not hiring people in the who graduated from an Ivy League school for many reasons. So I'm going to read that from, I believe it was magazine. I don't know if it was an LA magazine, and but I will read it thoroughly and see who the credible sources are that they're using. And then I will have a piece of my opinion on it to see of the trends. I'm always looking for trends on the business world and see what's happening. So that is my dear sister. She does keynote speaking. She has research to back up what she is saying. And of course, my brother from another Mr. Hounds of Business Community, leader and founder, and our fearless leader of putting a community together of people who are kind-hearted, who are soul-hearted, and who are amazing people that been hurt, that been duped, that been, you know, scammed. Literally, some of our members have been scammed from other people who offers them the moon and the stars and the diamonds and the sparkles and everything else, but nothing happened, right? And so we have them in our community. We're trying to build their trust value for that matter. So definitely going to work with communities like that. And it looks like our dear sister Paulette is here. I'm so excited to have her. Tech issues, nah, we're okay. We will get through it, right? That's what we do. We are resilient and we are flexible. Another thing I wanted to tell you guys, I want to give you a heads up. Our ebook on December 6th, it will come out, Against the Grain, Finding Belonging in a World of Resistance. And really, I am using this as a catapult and a foundation for my next year's manifestation level up. I have a lot of things happening next year. I'm hoping I'm going to get into one of these influencing program that I just applied. I've been on a lot of influencing program lately, but this one is really something that provides a different look on how social media is, the bad, the ugly, and everything else in between it. Okay. So, this book, the chapter of this anthology, this book, Against the Grain, is actually talking about Level Up Academy, how it was born, how it was created, because I get a lot of questions on it. So, now I can use this chapter to say that. And I have mentioned my sisters in here, Susanna and also Danielle on my chapter, because they are the foundation of my inner core circle, right? What who influences my ideas and thoughts and things like that. And of course, my magazine. So I had a sale over the weekend. It was a very short sale. However, I'm still doing sale, but a different type of sale on this magazine. And the reason I do that's because I want to help people in my community get their branding and their authority in a smallest possible way of spending your money, where you have the value that you're trying to get when you're doing branding and authority, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that will promise you everything, but there's nothing happening. And for me, I like publicity because then you get known somewhere else within my network as well. But this is called the Year of Reinvention. And our dear sister Paulette is also on this magazine. So I can't wait to write about her, how amazing she is. And this is what our topic is today, right? And I'm curious. Paulette's gonna tell me who Charlotte is. And I also have her newest book coming up, right? That one orange thing right there. She already has a series, and this is really for children's book. And I want to know the why. We're going to uncover Paulette's true purpose today. Are you guys ready? I hope you are because I am. Paulette is here, so I'm ready. Let's bring her up. Let's see. One of these days, I'm gonna really find a drum roll on this. Not StreamYard. This is Wave. A drum roll. 858 people are already waiting for Paulette from my YouTube. Wherever you are in Asia right now, driving, walking your kids to school, and listening to us. Thank you so much for showing up for our conversation today. I appreciate you guys. So we're gonna have Paulette come up, but we're gonna have a little music. Let's see if we can have sister some music. Hi, Paulette.
Hello, hello. I've had a nightmare getting here, but I'm here.
Doesn't matter. Listen, I'm loving that you are persistent. It's really a panic though, right? Like you're trying to go somewhere and you can't, and you're like, which button is not working here?
I've had 3 different computers. I've ended up on the iPad. How crazy is that? But anyway, it doesn't matter. I got here eventually. It's like
That's
one of those traffic jams. You've 50 different ways and every way's blocked. But never mind. I'm here now.
You are. I am so proud, and I cannot wait for our people to know who Paulette Hallam is. I know I've had you already in one of our live stream, but that was distributed somewhere else. This is specifically for people on TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, YouTube TVs, right? All of that. So it's a different demographic. So I want them to know who you are. And then we're going to dive into your book. So tell us, who is Paulette Hallam and where are
Who
you
is
looking?
she? Okay, so I'm coming from Cambridgeshire in England. I have got to the giddy heights of the glass ceiling, as they say. And then I retired at 52, partly because of my son's health and partly because of mine. So it was a case of, right, this is a good time to call it a day. But because of Ben's mental health, I did so much work. I decided to take some exams and become a qualified counsellor. And then I started offering my services for free, because that's what I thought was the good thing to do. And then Charles said to me one day, it's a revolving door, we've got to stop this. So I said, well, how can I reach more children? Because I know what I'm teaching them is working. And he said, well, how about you do those books you've always talked about? And then I was like, but I couldn't do it on my own because I don't know enough about books. So I couldn't do it on my own. So in the end, the only thing I decided to do was think to myself, well, what I'll do is I'll speak to my friend Charlotte, who's already a published author and a friend of mine for the last nearly 15 years. And her and I became co-authors in the book series. So that's how it happened. And she's a creative, so she did all the drawings as well. So I really lucked out. So not only does she help with the story, she also does all the illustrations. So it was fantastic.
Wow. So that is like a snippet, a shortcut of Paulette's why. Um,
Yes.
and I love that. So let's talk about, you could have just done with one book. Now you're on your fourth book. Why is that? What was the feedback that you were getting?
Well, the thing about children is they get it so much quicker than anybody else. So if you imagine you're a child just for a second and you say to a child, you know your inner voice, and they say, what's my inner voice? And I say, the voice that tells you not to do things. I don't want to climb on that wall because I fall off. That voice. And they go, oh, that voice. I go, yes, that's the voice. And at that point, immediately you've got them. So I say, let's give that voice a name. Let's call him Water. And they say, okay. So from now on, whenever you have a problem, I want you to have a little chat with Water and you two work out what's the right decision. And immediately they will say, little chat. And I say, yeah, a little chat. You ask yourself the question. For example, Granny's crying because she's thinking about her husband, a husband that she's lost, and she's very upset about it. And you want to cheer her up, and you think, I know, I'll throw a party. And then your inside voice says, I don't think throwing a party is the right idea. And it's the inside voice that you listen to, because you go, oh, yeah, I suppose thinking about it, parties are normally celebrations. This isn't really a celebration, is it? And so, and then I bring out my friend, you see, here. This is the actual Water, official. Bring him over here. Here he is in all his glory. So if I put him that slide, there we go. So when I bring him out and I say, could you imagine having a voice like this? And they look at me and go, that would be crazy to have a voice like that. And I say, well, that's how I want you to imagine in future your voice when you're talking to yourself. And immediately the kids go, oh, I see. Now, when the adults start to read it, the adults start to learn too, because they start to think, I see this. There's like your subconscious and your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is full of all the negative, bad thoughts, things you're told, things you shouldn't do. You're going to fall off. You're rubbish. You're no good at that. You shouldn't speak up because the last time you did, you got the question wrong. And then your inside voice goes, but you know this time you're right. Go on, put your hand up. You know it's right. And water's winning. And that means your conscious mind, your thinking mind is working. And that's when you really come to the fore. And so when a child reads the books, it's giving them self-confidence, resilience, that lovely word you used earlier on. It's giving them resilience, it's giving them self-confidence, it's giving them self-belief. And all the time, those things are growing like a muscle. And as they use it more and more and more, by the time they get to senior school, they really do know what they're doing. And when someone says to them, we're not having that class today, we're having this class, or this isn't happening, that's happening, instead of it throwing them and people thinking, oh, I don't like change, I thought we were going to be doing it, I'd got myself in a position of thinking I was doing one thing. Because they're used to that resilience, they're able to go, okay, all right, so we're not doing that. Think about that. Is that a problem? No, not really. Okay, fine. We'll go with that then. And it really does sound crazy, but when you do it, the more you do it, children go, really? We're not going to Granny's tomorrow. Oh, that's such a disappointment. I really wanted to go, but we'll go next week. Oh, okay. And all of a sudden, it becomes so quick. And instead of having the tears and the laying on the floor and the misery and the temper tantrums and all of that stuff, you actually end up with a situation where a child says, I've got this, it's fine. You've got a test on Friday, going to be okay? Yeah, it's good, I've got that. And you see this child bloom, and you see that happen through the books. So we get told by parents, by counsellors, by I had a headmaster who literally said he had made 300 water cards and was handing the pieces of paper out to every single pupil, and everyone was going to have the next lesson free to colour their water card in. And the water card is because not everybody can have one of these. You have a water card that you keep in your pocket, and that just, you can just touch point, and that reminds you to be strong and be brave and don't leave coming home too long. And that is all it needs for a child to go, okay, I remember, I've got water in my head, I'm with it. Okay, onwards and upwards.
I love it. You know, I was thinking maybe instead of a card, they could have a button, a Walter button, something
Absolutely.
that they can keep in their shirt or put in their backpack, right? I'm always thinking of marketing. So, I mean, think about it, right? Like it is marketing, but at the same time, for a kid, they don't care about that. They just care about
No.
something they can keep in their
Yeah.
hand. Like for
Yeah.
me, honestly, Paulette, I have so many toys in here, and I have a lot of Hello Kitty. I haven't grown up yet. I've had Hello Kitty since I was 3, and I will never grow up. I will never stop. I don't care what anyone else says. But I have a Hello Kitty squishy because when I'm
Yeah.
stressed, I'm angry or whatever, I squish it like this, right? And
Right.
also, when I feel sad or down, my husband literally buys me all Hello Kitty, like this entire room. My my pens are Hello Kitty. My mirror in front of me is Hello Kitty. I have strawberry Hello Kitty. Like I can't stop doing Hello Kitty. It's because it was from my childhood that makes me
Yeah.
feel comfortable when I'm low. So think of Walter like a button where kids can like touch it, and when they're stressed out, they're like, okay, I have Walter. Or a squishy, a Walter squishy,
Yeah.
where when they're stressed, they're thinking, okay, my thoughts and all of those
Yeah.
physical stuff. I mean, that is something
It's
that
a lovely idea. I mean, I
yeah,
didn't want every child to have a water because I know that some parents are going to be able to afford it and some aren't. But if we were to have so many made, so many purchased, and so many donated, that was the way around it, isn't it? You know?
yeah.
But
And
they
you
used to
are
have
not
they used to have a sticker when they'd had a meeting with me. They used to get a sticker that said, I've met Walter. And it always says, what would Walter do? So that's the big sort of catchphrase, is what would Walter do? So that's the breathing. It's the in for 4. It's the good box breathing. And it's the technique we teach them. So like, what would Walter do? And that is enough time for them to change their thought from panic to from complete fear into let's have a sensible thought. And it
Intention.
really is amazing how that happens. So if they were to have a plushie or something like that, would be lovely. I mean, that's something perhaps we could definitely move on to. And I'm really the next book is Big News, Bad News. And it's because there's so much bad news at the moment, and there's so much division, and I don't want children to be fearful. And I've already had one child ask me, do you think we're going to have World War III? And I looked at this kid, and she was 7. I said, why did you ask me that question? She said, because I read it on the newspaper. It was right across the top of the newspaper when Mummy was getting the milk. So she was sitting in the car outside the garage, and that's where all the newspapers are. And right across the headline was World War III's coming. So in her little mind, that's where she went. And so for me, it's kind of about this next book will be trying to teach them that the news is really quite scary, and it is really for grown-ups, and that we shouldn't be trying to understand it. You don't need to understand it. All you need to know is that you're safe and you're well, you're working hard at school, you've got lots of friends, you've got food to eat, and having fun.
Yeah.
That's all that it's like taking the level down. You don't need to level up on this one. We need to level down.
Yeah.
The worries are not for them.
No, they're not. I know my daughter also was thinking. Actually, she's way smarter than me. She's 17, but her logic is just on point. When I get so emotional, she's like, "Mom, take the emotions out of it. Let's talk about logically." I'm like, "Who are you, my psychiatrist?" And so I literally will talk to her about like my, issues. She's like, first of all, I don't understand why you care about this person and that person. They're not even in existence in my head. Like, move on, mom. What about this person? And she literally puts me in stuff. And then every day at school, I always ask my kids, like, they know that every time they come home, they better tell me some drama, some tea, something. I want them to pay attention who they helped today. I always ask, like, who did you help today and who did you talk nicely today? Because it's intentional for my kids, right? If you don't do intention,
Yes.
they don't. So every day they're like, Mom, I helped this kid. He was like stuck in the bathroom because people were trying to take his lunch. I'm like, well, did you kick some, what happened? Like, I want to know. And I was like, I said, well, I'm not a tattle tailor, so I just took care of it. And I was like, how'd you take care of it? I just gave them a look, because she does have a look. It's a very scary look for my 17-year-old. And the boys run. I was like, yeah, boys will run when girls stand up to them. It is that intention, because they're not used to, girls are usually scared. My daughter, I'm like, she goes, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I'm a girl. Like, what? And the boy just literally leave. You're like, ugh, and then left. And then I said, so what happened to the boy who got their lunch taken? And she goes, oh, I had $5, so I gave it to him, but he was so scared to go.
Oh.
So then I had to go with him, and then I was late in class. I got in trouble. So you might get like an email from the teacher that I was late, but that's what I was doing. So that explanation, I was like, oh, it's okay. I'll figure it out. I'll take care of it. But then we get texts, like her dad and me get texts if, they get in trouble from school or whatever. And so I told my husband, and my husband's like, yeah, I'm not worried about it. Bella got it. We trust her judgment, even when she does get in trouble, to explain to us what happened. I think most
Yeah.
parents, they just assume that the adults were correct and they are doing whatever, rather than ask their own child and trust their own child's judgment, right? I got your book actually on Amazon,
Yay.
and I was actually asking for her opinion, right? Because she volunteers for elementary kids to read sometimes. We go to church and we volunteer how to read English. And so I asked her opinion for this book, and she said she loves this part of the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
I love it.
she goes, magic at work. She goes, imagine kids going to work. Like, that is kind of genius. Like, they're not working, but they're there. And she goes, I love this part, tooting Tara. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, oh, I don't know. There's just something about tooting Tara. It's so cute, mom. And then she read it, and she read it about, helping tying the shoelace. And it reminded her when she asked her sister to tie her shoelace, and her sister basically do the bunny loop, right?
Yeah.
And so even teenagers who's reading this book gives them a sense of like connection to
Yeah.
their childhood. So thank you for this. I
I
love.
know. Thank you for that. I mean,
Yeah.
and we've got this one is out now. Oh, here's the camera. There we are. So that's the next one that's out. And then we've got this is the bereavement story about, and it's not a bereavement about a death of somebody who dies that this week. It's somebody who's died 7 years ago, but it's
Oh,
the first time that Jack notices. So that's why it's a sort of, it's much more gentle on the child, because if it was a very, like this happened last week, death, then that could potentially trigger them if they've had a recent bereavement. So by going for a death that is a few years ago, it's a very kind way of doing it. And we're just about to do New School Nerves. That will be out probably by first week of December. And then we'll have the set of 3. And then the 4th one will be the start of the next set, which, as I said, will be Big News, Bad News.
I think you need to do Jack and Walter social media.
So
Right.
people tell me, yeah.
Because our audio room and stuff with kids, and I'm still thinking about what you told me about what to do, and I think I definitely will be part of my goal for next year. But social media for children, some 8-year-olds can actually go to their mom's social media and look at Instagram, and some are not appropriate for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
it's more for
Well,
children,
I'm
but
definitely doing the audiobooks. Whisper Boy's going to do the audiobooks and the podcast for me. And then we're also going to have, I think it's I think it's Jasmine. Jasmine Afori is going to be doing all the social media. So I'm going to get it all sorted. I just haven't had the physical time, because you start something and then you're on this kind of roller coaster route. You've got to get it finished. So it's finished now, it's done. And Global Media, as you know, are the publisher. And then now we need to look at some marketing ideas. And I know that Water is, going to be an expensive make, because he has these huge, great big arms that wrap round you. If I show you,
oh, let me see.
and
Oh,
you go inside them, and they stretch right out. So they would even hold, a woman or a man, but they
okay.
come
Well, I
right
want
out from his
one.
body.
Can I
So
have
a
one?
lot of people said, I want one of those.
Yeah, I do. I do because sometimes when kids have nightmares, right? They need someone there. Or if kids like I like those old days where you read books to your kids, which I do. I read a lot of books to my kids, but you got to be careful what you read because I always read horror movies because I like horror movies. So, yeah,
Not
my
before bed.
right? I do actually. And then I switch to princess when they're about to sleep. So I don't want them to have nightmares. So I was like, so this princess, and their cover goes down a little bit when I talk about princess. But growing up now, they love horror movies, and we go to conventions for horror movies, and they're like, yeah, my mom's very consistent for sure since we were little. And I was like, yeah, I love to provide things for my kids, but I think at the end of the day, you have to be able to talk to them and explain to them certain things. And I did put them in a bubble for a long time. I mean, a long time. But I also realized that some of the people and my friends who were kids were in the bubble for a long time didn't know how to react to public school because they were in private schools for a long time. So now I'm pulling my youngest to go to public school for a year now just to see. It's actually a charter, it's smaller than a public school. What am I talking about? But I'm trying, okay, testing it out. It's just because of that influence, right? So parents are putting their kids to private schools, but they're not talking to them, and they're still, exposed to social media that's not supposed to be in their
Yeah.
peripheral. And so there's still a disconnect. Like, yeah, you're paying all this money to put your kids in there, but when they come home and where they're in school 8 hours a day, they're still having that. stuff. So I think you still need to talk. Now, I wanted to talk to you about Walter, right? Because Walter is so amazing. Like, look how cute he is. He's so cute. What is your idea of, like, when you, I wanted to get to your head a little bit and back up. When you first started it, you had a purpose, right? Because I want this for business people and authors as well to think about. When you start your journey of writing the first book, did you ever imagine that this can go this way today?
You hope. Um, I think when I wrote the book 20 years ago, the first one, and that was for my nephew, and he was being bullied, and it was a really, really sad situation because you get on the bus, he's only the second child on the bus, and every seat was taken. You know, that kind of bully.
Mm.
And he didn't tell his mum and dad because they were both so busy. So he told me instead. And thankfully, Auntie P, as they call me, Auntie P was able to sit down with him and we were talking. And I talked to him about, you know, when does he get himself upset, and you know, what does he do and how does he handle the emotions? And he says, I make my hands really, 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 really tight in my pockets so I don't cry. And I said, okay. And then what do you do? And then I'm trying to breathe because I'm frightened he's going to punch me. And I was like, right, okay. I said, how are you feeling inside? I feel broken. I said, right, well, we're going to fix you. And he was like, you can do that? I said, oh, Auntie P has got skills. And he was like, oh, okay. And he's like, and because they think that I'm made of like some sort of magic, I don't know why, but they do. I think it's because I speak their language because I'm on their level. But I said to him, I want you to stand up and I want you to plant your feet as if you're a tree. So he stood up and he didn't do a very good job. And I just pushed him with a couple of fingers and he wobbled. And I said, that's not a tree. Trees don't wobble. You've got to be strong like a tree. And then he stood really, really strong and I couldn't push him over. And I said, right, that is the strength that you have in you. And he was like, do I? And I said, yes. So I said, you don't have to listen to that bully anymore because that's the strength that you just found. Where was it hiding? He says. And I said, well, it was in you, but you just didn't know where to look. Okay. So it was inside you, but you didn't know where it was. Now you found it, you're going to be fine. So he said, okay. He said, now what? And I'd been doodling, and there was a picture, and I'd put a glass of water over it. So I had like a watermark. So he said, oh, you've got a watermark on it. I said, oh, never mind. And I just went to scrunch up this serviette, and he said, can I have it? And I said, why? And he said, because it will remind me of our conversation. And I was like, ah, okay. So I folded it up neatly and he put it in his pocket. And so the next day, got on the bus, he planted his feet like he was a tree, and he put his hand in his pocket and he held on to his water card that he didn't know was a water card at the time. And he held on to it because he was thinking about me. And the guy came over and said, move. And he said, no. And the boy was like, ugh, what do you mean, no? And he was like, no, I'm not moving. And he went, oh, all right then. And he just went and sat somewhere else. And Jack was like,
That was
I couldn't
magic.
breathe. I did it. And then I got the phone call that night. And then, of course, my brother was like, what the heck was all that about? And I told him, it's like, why didn't he tell us? And I said, well, I was going to after today, after I saw how it panned out. I said, but look, he's done it himself and he's proud of himself. And that's about strength. That's about telling a child that you can do it. And then the other thing that I find is children carry other people's baggage, other people's
Yeah.
worries, mum and dad's arguments, worrying about food, worrying about the bills. They're all in like a big rucksack on their backs. And it's my job, I used to think, to take that rucksack off and give them the strength to say, that's not my baggage, right? That's not mine. I don't have to hold that on my back. I'm a baby, I'm a child. I want to enjoy my life. And I'm not saying you can't care and be empathetic, but it's not your job to carry the worries of the world, not when you're a child. And so by giving children permission to be a child again is huge. And with social media, with the internet, with everything that they are subject to, and through choice, but they are subject to a lot of it. That
Mm-hmm.
does mean for me that they're growing up far too quick,
It
and
is.
that means it's a worry. So we need to try and kind of like wind back time a bit. I mean, technology wise, I mean, I haven't got a clue, as you've rightly proved today, although I'm not blaming myself for this one. But generally speaking, my tech support is in Warwick at university, and Ben answers the phone, tech support Warwick, and it's like, oh, ha ha. What do you need? And it's like, actually, I was just phoning up to see how you are, So, we've got the most amazing relationship, me and my son. I love him dearly, but he's also incredibly sarcastic, very cheeky. Um, he takes the mickey no end, just like his dad. And I love
Oh,
that. I
he
love
can
it.
sing. I saw that video. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, it reminds me of my daughter. She loves to draw and she loves to sing. And I think people who are into arts and really very extra sensitive inside, um, I feel like they need more protection and more intentions because sometimes they go with their heart and they get so hurt
Yeah.
over things. One thing I noticed about my youngest, my oldest is very independent. She's out of the house, but my youngest is still here. And she does not care what anybody else says. Like when she, like, you're this or you're that. And she's like, so what's it to you? And then she just moves on, right? But when I sometimes, I don't want to say criticize, but I guess I am. I'm like, what is this? Like, when they have like baggy pants or whatever, and I'm like, why do I see your belly? Like, where are you going with this shirt? Like that. She takes it to heart more. And so I had a conversation with her. I said, why do you look so sad? She's like, well, I think you think less of me because I have baggy pants and sure, my belly is showing a little bit, like half an inch. But then I realized, Mom, it's not my fault. You're the one who bought it. Like she literally gave it back to me. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. I said, well, you're the one who wanted it. And she's like, okay, Mom, whatever, but you still bought it. And then she just walks away. She don't even give me the last bit of it. But I'm still enjoying my childhood. I am too. I mean, notice all the pinkery going on over here, right? And yeah, so I told people, hey, listen, if you're not in my classroom, just call me CJ. It's fine. When I have Zoom, and they're like, why do you have that lights level up? And I said, hey, I got that made for me, so I can always think I have to level up my thoughts, I have to level up my words, I have to level up my actions. We really do. And sometimes with your emotions, you have to have emotional intelligence. And people are like, what is that? It's hard to see when the big words comes out for kids, but you, Paulette, is building that self-esteem through actions. Now
Yeah.
I'm thinking bigger, okay? Like we have like, Barneys in the US, but Walter could be a Barney in the UK, right? And literally teach kids through video, through social media video as an influencer for kids building self-esteem, right? Think about
Definitely.
and
Yeah.
cartoons. I mean, the sky is the limit, but we got to go somewhere. And I'm really loving this conversation about where Walter go and what would Walter do in certain situations. So I wanted to ask you this question: if there's one major impact you'd like your book to have on readers, what would that be?
To believe in themselves. So when they start the book, they feel one way. And by the end of the book, they'll feel that they've got some strength. They believe in themselves. They trust their gut, their gut instinct, I call it. So it's like, if you don't feel comfortable with Uncle Sid, then you know what? You don't want to be around Uncle Sid. So you have to say to Mum, please don't leave Uncle Sid as my babysitter, because I just got something about Uncle Sid. I don't know what it is, but you have to be able to say that. And until a child is able to verbalize that, you're leaving them with somebody they're uncomfortable with. Once they're brave enough to say, I don't want to be left with Uncle Sid, mum should be on alert that there's a problem with Uncle Sid, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that Uncle Sid has done anything or will do anything. He just might not let him play his games, or might tell him he's too noisy and to be quiet, or he might have upset him some way. And so you just have to dig a bit deeper. But they don't know there's a problem unless you have the conversation. So I'm all about opening those conversations. Everything starts with speaking, talking to each other, and not letting a device be the babysitter, not letting the device be the nanny. You are the parent. You need to parent, and the books are just there to support you in your parenting journey.
Something that I think local libraries, even local authors, start reading the book, having a book club. I wanted to just start a book club here. I'm starting a book club on TikTok actually. At night, I would read chapters of our books that we have done. I'm about to read probably chapters on other people's book. Other people's chapter and other people's book. I really want to continue back to this rather than, I do love Kindle, believe it or not, but I actually like this because I can write to it. I can put sticky notes. I'm big on sticky notes. Okay. Everywhere's my sticky notes. And so I love doing that. And thank you for building the self-esteem for the children, really. Now, what manifestations or affirmations are you holding for yourself and your career as you step into this new year with Walter Books?
So certainly looking to potentially get into something like a cartoon, or some sort of internet, maybe getting an AI company to help us do something like that as well, because that might be easier, because everything's moved so much quickly from how it used to be to how it is now. So we know that cartoons can be made a lot easier. So I think if we went down that route, certainly we would be able to get to a bigger reach, because they might want to buy the book still, but they'd also watch the cartoons, they'd watch everything that would give them some sort of feeling of, I got something from that. And that's all you can ask a cartoon to do. What made you laugh, but also it made you think. I laughed out loud at something, but actually I also thought about how I'd feel if that happened to me. And those kind of connecting the dots are what I'm all about. So my career for me is keep going, more books, joining the dots, reaching more teachers, reaching more schools. We're becoming a sort of quite an Americanized. I know it says mum and mom, and that's about the only thing that really causes a problem. But the books are loved in America. We've had such lovely responses from our American friends. So I think if I can continue to grow it both here and across the pond and around, who knows? There really could be someone watching who might say, I want that, or I'm interested in that, and not to sell it or give it away, but to then say, right, work with me to get all the things that I always wanted, but don't have the money necessarily to do straight away. And I'm sure but every single penny that we raise, we buy more books with to give to charities. So there is no profit made at all. In fact, my husband calls it an all for cost, not a non-profit. It's an all for cost. But the idea is that we give every single penny that we raise away to charities. So in America, we're part with a partnership with Connect Impact Hub, which was Martha's charity for the homeless. So she goes around giving bags of toiletries and water and sandwiches to some of the homeless people to help them. And the children get books. We've given books to children. She's just given them as she's been walking around the streets, seeing kids just wandering around. She's got a few in her car. So to me, that's what it's about. it's really about giving back now.
I love
At this old age, I can afford to do that. So I would like to just keep giving back.
I love it, Paulette. And the reason that I love this book too, and your heart, and I'm gravitating towards people like you, because that's what we do with our books, right? We don't have a profit. When you buy, like, our first book, Beyond Boundaries, we have a forest now in Madagascar, 27 trees with 27 authors. Then our one, Moving Beyond Boxes, we have one in Honduras. We have a whole trees now with how many authors that we have. For Rebel with a Cause, it goes for just mental health and also autism, right? So all of our books goes back. I'm not a rich person. I'm still working. I'm not retired, but I can afford little things like that to give back to the community, showing that you care, right?
Yeah.
Showing that you care about the community, because guess what? At the end of the day, we're all part of a bigger community. And if we just talk about our problem but not provide solutions, then we are part of the problem, right?
Yes.
So that's what I love about you and your heart of giving. But I'm loving that you have boundaries now on not just giving on people and then crapping on you at the same time, right? So
Oopsies.
we're
It's
learning the
happened.
boundaries, right? Now, I wanted to, this is my last question for the day. I wanted to go back to the authorship. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced while writing, and how did you overcome them on this book?
To be honest, because we storybook everything, we do it as a line, sort of the story's written between both of us. And we have characters. Each character has a page, so everything about that page, about the way, the personality of the character. So we've even got the actors ready to play the parts. As I said before, Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Gosling are going to be mum and dad if it ever makes it to a film. But they're the pictures that we've got of the parents, and we've got all the characters and all the characteristics of the parents. So it means that you've actually got those in front of you. So as you're writing the book, you're just double checking. So for me, the most important thing is consistency, and making sure that book 1 and book 7 run as a sequence. That's the key.
Of course, I'm on mute. So, Colette, you have a storyboard on your book as a series. So, do you do like plan out, hey, I'm gonna do series 4, 5, and 6 in 6 months, and then create a story, or do you create the
No, we tend to look at specifics. So we've looked at bereavement, which we knew we had to cover because of COVID. So many people lost family members. Then the biggest fears that children have are moving house, which adults have too. If you look at they align very closely with what people do. So children have the fear of moving house. Children have the fear of new schools. You adults have the fear of new jobs. We don't really move on much, really. We're very similar. The new book challenge is quite interesting because it's not just about the new school, it's about the new classroom, the new teacher, changing schools. It would cover the full transition, so you don't need to have a different book each time. The one book will literally help that child do all of those transitions. And the book of the new home is about teaching them to be safe, and comfortable in their own skin. And that's a little bit like you said about your daughter. She knows herself, she knows who she is, and she has her own mind, but she's also an empath. She cares, you know? And that's what's sort of important to me, that when these books all line up. So now we've gone from new school. The next one is going to be big news, bad news, because the news is scaring the life out of kids. I think it's scaring the life out of adults too, to be honest, but definitely children. We've got one called The Bully, and that really is a book about resilience, because I wrote that already. And we never did it because I felt like it was too close to Ben's story. So I needed to sort of unpick it a bit and change it a bit so it doesn't look like I'm writing Ben's story. I want to write a different story, but it's got all the same issues. Because children can be so cruel. And when your child is cruel and mean, there's a reason for that. They're either mimicking behavior they're seeing at home, or it's they're looking for attention. There's only two things it can be.
Yeah.
Because by nature, children aren't mean. That's not who they are.
No.
You know, they're not born mean. They're not born homophobic. They're not born racist. They're not born any of those things. They become them because of the environment. And so what I'm about is trying to even it all out and make children rounded, kind, nice people that grow into nice adults. So the next generation are already leading the way. And we just need to make sure that we keep going.
I love it. So I have Paulette's here's information, guys. This is her LinkedIn. And then the book that you see right there is actually Paulette's book that I have in my hand. This one right here, Jack and Walters, is only thing that I have right now. But I love reading this book. So I totally encourage you guys to support. You know, the money goes to nonprofit and other places that needs our help. But we want Walter, okay? I want a Walter doll. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm putting it out there, 1,077 YouTube live viewers. Thank you so much for being here. And we do have you, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here.